So you want to master time management. Everywhere you look, you're told that it takes bullet journals, productivity apps, and meticulous planning to get your life in order. But what you often end up with is a half-filled planner and a sense of guilt for not sticking to your schedule. That's not even a joke. But hey, at least you can tell everyone on Instagram that you're working on your time management skills if you haven't guessed by now. Managing your time effectively is actually quite straightforward. Even if you think you're inherently disorganized, compared to the chaos of nature, your life is pretty manageable. When we say we want to manage our time better, it means a lot of things. We want to get more done in less time. We want to balance work, study, social life, and hobbies without feeling overwhelmed. We want to be efficient and avoid procrastination. And we want to feel in control of our schedules just enough to be productive, but not so much that we feel like robots. The problem is, most advice on the internet is either too vague and philosophical or so basic it feels like common sense. If you search for specific advice that you can actually use right now, you'll get tips like make a to-do list, set smart goals, use the Pomodoro technique, wake up early, and eliminate distractions. These things sound good, but at some point you have to actually organize your life. And remember, even in the past, some of the most successful people had chaotic schedules but still managed to get things done. So what can you actually do to manage your time better that's not just regurgitating the same productivity hacks from a blog post? The main thing you need to do is prioritize. What kind of prioritization? It depends. For daily tasks, a simple to-do list might work, but for long-term goals, you need to understand what truly matters to you. For example, just by identifying your top priorities, you can streamline your focus. The key is to avoid overloading yourself. You might want to achieve everything at once, but the reality is that spreading yourself too thin will only lead to burnout. Now, how do you decide what to prioritize? It's actually really easy. You don't have to follow the same prioritization methods everyone tells you to use. Just think of what's most important to you right now. Is it your career, your studies, your family? Now break it down further. What can you do today that will make a significant impact in that area? Here's a method that looks good to Eisenhower Matrix. Usually these frameworks can seem complex, but if you focus on the basics urgency and importance, you can categorize your tasks effectively. There are a few things you should know before you start managing your time. 1. Unless you allocate time for a task, it will keep getting postponed. 2. You only need to allocate 20% of your time to the most critical tasks to see 80% of the results. This is called the Pareto principle. It's a concept that shows how a small amount of effort can lead to a majority of the outcomes. As you can see, just by focusing a little, you can achieve a lot. But you have to actually do the work. No one ever managed their time by just thinking about it. You only learn by doing, reflecting, and adjusting your schedule accordingly. But let's imagine you have tasks that you can't tackle right now, like planning a big project. Ideally, you'd break it down and work on it bit by bit, but sometimes you can't start immediately. You can still prepare by planning. Picture the project timeline and the steps you need to take. By doing this, you create a roadmap in your mind, which makes the task seem more manageable when you finally start it. Meanwhile, the person who just writes it down without planning might feel overwhelmed and procrastinate. This is how you manage time. Use your schedule actively and imagine scenarios where your planning pays off. This is basically how project managers work. They create a plan, anticipate potential issues, and adjust as necessary. Some people think using every productivity app or following every time management guru will help them get more done, but in reality, finding a system that works for you and sticking to it will give you the best results. If you don't have a system yet, create one and convince yourself the stakes are high. Pretend you're running a company and every task you complete directly affects its success. Organizing your time and making it seem useful to your brain is all you need to manage it effectively. This is why simple tools like calendars and to-do lists are so effective. There's no fluff, no overcomplication, just pure organization and a visual representation of your tasks. And if you can't keep up, you can always adjust and move things around. Tools aren't for the casual organizer because they require discipline to use consistently.